My name is Pete Ruble, and this is my song, Faraway Blues. I got the faraway blues, I got some money to lose, I got a hole in my socks, my bed is rocks. I wore out the welcome, sleeping at the school bus stop. And if I don't get home pretty soon, you know I'm bound to drive. Yes, and the streetlight burns a shadow in the cold black top. I wandered off on my own, left my pillow at home. I didn't know what I had, I guess I must have been mad. Just sitting there thinking that I'm not so wise. And I miss my mama, and there's something coming through my eyes. So you know I'd do anything just to hurry up that old sunrise. I got the faraway blues, I got some money to lose, I got a hole in my socks, my bed is rocks. Boy, out the welcome, sleeping at the school bus stop. And if I don't get home pretty soon, you know I'm bound to try. Yes, and the streetlight burns a shadow in the cold black top. I was watching you and Jeff Mack the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I got to get warmed up here.
No, it was great. We got into the nitty gritty. I grilled him on a couple of
It
things.
was really nice. I liked it.
I'm
Yeah.
joking. It was a puff piece.
It was a nice. Well, I hope you give me a puff piece.
That's what we do
Give me
here.
the expose.
I think one episode we should really just
real.
like dig in.
Where are you really from?
Just like, who are you?
Yeah, where you really? Because we
Like-
say Arizona,
That's
but
not
then what
your
do we?
name.
Yeah.
That's not your real name.
Like I want a hostile, like 60s going after Bob Dylan style.
What's your real name? Is it Zimmerman?
Yeah.
You're not
Well,
really
I-
from the carnival, are you?
I feel like that's a good starting point to jump off of. Is you're like a Bob Dylan, like deep cut. You have the
Oh, yeah.
whole encyclopedic knowledge of Dylan.
Yeah.
And I've known those guys throughout my life as like a guy that like plays music and writes songs and stuff. They walk among us, these Bob Dylan guys.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about your Bob Dylan journey?
Sure. I am part of the Bob Dylan Army of Gray. And, you know, the first time I ever heard Bob Dylan, I was actually with my parents. We took the little ferry to Victoria, which is kind of a thing people do. There was a guy playing Like a Rolling Stone, just a busker.
Yeah.
And even then, I was probably like 8 or 9, and I was like, what is that? And my dad's like, that's Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And then probably like 10 years later, I'd really gotten into classic rock, like Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, the Beatles. But my high school buddy, really good friend of mine, he had the Bob Dylan Greatest Hits. And it was somewhere between Mr. Tambourine Man and Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yeah. Which is a
that I was-
4-track span, right?
Yeah. And up to that point, like, you know, I had gotten into playing guitar, and I thought like you had to like be like a rock and roll band. That was like how you would like communicate music.
You just say baby a lot and,
Yeah,
and make
you know.
allusions to having sex.
Exactly,
right?
you know,
That's-
maybe have an armadillo in the trousers, you know, and that's rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know?
Talk
But
about Spinal Tap.
yeah, when I heard, you know, John's in the basement mixing up the medicine, I'm on the pavement thinking about the government, it was just like, wow, I had never had my mind blown from
Yeah.
lyrics like that before.
Well, and that was the precursor to hip hop music. A lot of the hip hop guys
Yeah.
were just like, oh, that shit. They were like, you know, he was like really like spewing free association, just that rambling, just coming
Yeah.
at you with that
Yeah.
rapid fire machine gun of lyrics.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that blew me away like in 2001. So I can imagine like being in the early 60s and hearing that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it had
Oh,
to
yeah.
have been a revelation. I mean,
It sets your hair on fire. You know,
it really does.
Like
It really
when
does.
But one thing about Dylan I've always appreciated is that like it feels like with the imagery he uses and like what he's saying, it feels like it's relevant at any point in history. And where a lot of songwriters are talking about really topical things that are like, oh, well, this event happened in 1993, and you know, like they'll reference it like very directly.
Yeah.
But
Don't ever put the year in a song, bro.
yeah, aside from Hurricane, Bob Dylan has been very kind of like oblique in his references.
Yeah, that's a good observation. You know, it made it timeless like that. You know, because there was other guys in that era, like Phil Oakes was a Greenwich Village guy, and he actually kind of, some people say he was like too specific. Like he would like write these songs about like specific articles in the newspaper, and Dylan did that a little bit too. But like Phil Oakes was like so topical, you know, on specific events, and Dylan, I think, like you said, he had a way to make it timeless, and that stuff still hits, and it's still relevant, like it was then 60 years ago now. You know?
Sure.
So
another thing I really love about Dylan is that there's different. It's like when you cut down a tree and you can kind of interpret the rings on the tree, what was happening in his life, and I feel like there's different rings on Bob Dylan's songwriting experience, and like there was times where it feels like Bob Dylan's really floundering and trying to like find himself. He's like, who am I right now?
Sure, yeah.
I'm still going to write songs and put them out there, but I don't know who I am.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah, and he's gone through so many like personality arcs over the years, but he's always laid bare his like human experience via his songwriting.
Yeah. Yeah, he really, he's been a chameleon, kind of like David Bowie, but that's one thing I think keeps me coming back to Dylan, because like out of all the artists, you know, like I loved Led Zeppelin and I loved the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but all those artists I kind of a little bit got tired of. I mean, I could still put on like the Beatles and love it, but with Dylan, I'm always still curious to go back and listen to something of his. It's never like, I don't feel like I've played it all out, you know, because he had all those phases, you know. He had his early folk stuff, and my favorite phase, like the 65, 66, where he went electric at first, but then also like the Nashville Skyline stuff, Blood on the Tracks, you know, Desire, and then his resurgence in the late 90s with Time Out of Mind. Like he just has these phases. You just, whenever you think he's done, he's like, I'm going to put out a few shitty records and I'll be back, you know, with something that'll blow your mind.
Keep busy right now.
Let me take the trash out. I'll take the trash out for 10 years, then I'll come back with something that'll just like be... That's classic Dylan again.
Keep a nice balance.
I do respect and appreciate his like later years. Like it's very apocalyptic and cryptic. You know, like I was obsessed with Modern Times when that came out. It was playing in a coffee house. I was like, who is this? And they were like, oh, this is Bob Dylan, his latest album. And this was like right when it came out. And it was like, it felt like we were on the cusp of like some kind of like horrible apocalypse. And I think around then, No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood. There was like The Road, a lot of apocalyptic stuff. Yeah, like late, like before the 2010s. It was just like
2005, 2006, 2007-ish.
Yeah.
But like across the like artistic and literary sphere, there was just so much just apocalyptic things coming out, even in video games, you know, like everywhere. There was like this, like the world is ending sort of mentality. And it felt like Bob Dylan was kind of our, you know, like harbinger for that era. You know? And I give him props for that. So, as a songwriter, how has Bob Dylan influenced how you go about it?
Wait, who are we talking to, first and foremost?
Okay, for those that don't know you, this is Bob Dylan Jr.
This is Bob Dylan cousin, right?
Yeah. No, this is Pete Ruble. For those unacquainted, introduce yourself, talk about a little bit of your music experience.
Sure. So I started playing guitar as a teenager. And it was really like classic rock is what did it. Lynyrd Skynyrd, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, like the classics, you know, you all know them.
The wheelhouse.
And I was just a guitar guy for 4 or 5 years, and I wanted to be like a lead guitar player, like a session guitar player, you know. But then I realized you had to have somebody singing, and like, you know, and I didn't really want to play in cover bands. I wanted to be like in an original band. So like in my late teens, I started to write songs. And I wrote some garbage. I wrote like 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't even show anybody like the songs I was writing, and I didn't even really want to tell people I was writing songs. But in my like sometime around 2021, started to get a band together and then do that thing, and still wrote a lot of trash. But like, you know, the more I'd write like 7 or 8 really bad songs and get one song. I'm like, okay, that might be something, you know.
Oh yeah, we're cooking now. We're cooking now.
So it's something you're like, at least you could like show other people, you know. And through the years, I just kept doing it, and that was like, I mean, I'm 39 now, so that's like 20 years worth of writing. And I've gotten to the point now where I still write lots of trash, but I think I'm better at like catching it early on and stopping working on it.
Let's restart real quick.
You know, but there's still definitely like times where you work really hard on a song, and like you'll spend like a couple months, not like just on that one song, but off and on.
Coming back to
and you work really hard on it, and you get done, and you go play it once or twice. You're like, this song sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But then you get the songs that sometimes, I don't know, some of my favorite songs of mine are songs that came out in like 20 minutes. To just like,
boom.
Yeah.
This is nothing, you know, and it comes so natural. And I've understood after having that stuff happen, what guys like,
right there.
Yeah, what like Neil Young says, like, you know, those songs just kind of go through you, like, they kind of come to you and go through you, and it's not like you're like some mystical creature. It's just like those ideas come from nowhere, and it's probably like a combination of stuff you've heard through the years, and for whatever reason, it's just you're there at the right time, and you've put the time in. You know, did like a lot of free writing through the years to try to just get really good at getting stuff on paper, and yeah.
We'll be right back after these messages. We'd like to give a special thanks to Lost Giant Cider Company, always providing us with our cider beverages and the best of the cider beverages. Visit Lost Giant's Tap Room in the heart of Bellingham at 1200 Meter Avenue in the Haskell Business Center. It's just down the street from Lakeway Fred Meyer.
This episode is brought to you by Menace Brewing. Menace Brewing is a pet and family-friendly brewery located in the heart of the Fountain District. Menace is family-owned and operated with 11 rotating taps and a wide array of alternative options. They are the local soccer football pub and offer many opportunities to get involved with the community. Menace has food trucks present every day, rotating events listed on their website, and print-on-demand merchandise delivered right to your door. How's it get better than that? Most times, you can stop by Menace to have a beer with one of the brewers or owners, as the brewery is a second home. So go ahead, what are you waiting for? Stop by Menace Brewing today.
And welcome back.
So there was kind of an event, I don't know, must have been like 2 years ago or something. You'd been out of like the playing live game. I think you were writing songs still, but you hadn't played out in a good amount of time. And we used to know each other before I moved to Arizona and came back to town. You know, we weren't like friends, but we were like, you know, familiar with each other.
Exactly,
We, you know, liked each other's stuff and stuff. And I think I just asked you out of the blue if you would open for a set because we were looking for somebody.
Yeah.
I remember liking your stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it was just the perfect audience for like, it was like they were just pin drop silent.
It was,
And they were eating up what you were laying down.
Yeah.
And I think it felt like a moment where you kind of like, you had kind of like a re-inspiration. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I'd love to. That was a really fun moment in my life, actually. You know, I didn't play much. I had some weird nerve damage shit with my arm, so I didn't book any shows for like 5 or 6 years. I did keep playing open mics just to kind of like keep my like chops up, you know, keep the rust off a little bit, and an excuse to keep writing songs. But yeah, when you asked me to open for you guys at the honeymoon a couple of years ago, I was pretty scared to do it, but it was awesome. You know, like you said, it was just like the audience was just perfect, and it was the first, you know, full like set other than like, you know, an open mic set. The first like 30 to 40 minute set I had played in quite a few years, and it went really good. I felt really good about it, and it just turned into you asked me to open for you guys more, and then also just meeting, you know, a bunch of people that night, and then in that whole crew, you know, it turned into more shows, and it's kind of tentacled out into, you know, meeting these different people, and hey, you want to play a show? So it's honestly, it was one of the best things that happened to my music career in the last, honestly, ever. I mean, it's been great. It's been, I don't know.
But it was such a random thing.
It was random.
I was like, I love Pete's songs. How about he opens? It was like zero thought went into it.
That's
but
dope.
we just threw him in, and everybody, like, I think just stylistically, what you were doing, what we called like ragtime guitar with the key changes, and you're like kind of like talking authentic delivery where you weren't over singing. You're just a guy singing honest songs about like what's happening. It was such a breath of fresh air versus like, I know a lot of, performers that overdo it and really try to sell it and do, ornamentation on their voice and stuff. And it really felt like a breath of fresh air to just like see a guy playing his songs that he wrote for you, and he's not dressing it up any.
Were these postcard songs or like?
Yeah,
a lot
of
them
songs
ended
on
up
postcards.
being-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I must say, that is a great EP.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Well, is it
Sounds fire.
the
You listened
length
to it?
of
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank
that's
you.
really good.
is it the length of an LP? Is it technically?
No, it's an
No.
EP.
Yeah,
it's
definitely EP.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
What's the cutoff? Is it?
Give me an hour in it.
I think
LP?
I think EP is like up to 20.
I'm looking up the definition.
Okay,
There you
look
go.
up
Shout
the
out Google.
definition. It's very, very loose, but an LP is like around 20 minutes,
okay. Yeah.
and an LP, like, we're thinking about like
Oh,
size
you're right.
of
You're
records.
right. You're right. So the number of tracks, EP would be like 3 to 6 tracks, about 20 minutes. LP would be 7 to 12 tracks, about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're definitely EP then, because it's
Yeah.
like 5
Yeah.
tracks, and I think it's probably like 15 minutes, because my songs are pretty short.
Yeah,
So.
and you think about like flipping the record over and playing the other side.
Right.
So an LP would be just two
Yeah, the both
versions of
sides,
that. Yeah. So
Learn something new
there
today.
you go. I just learned that too. I didn't know that.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, it's wonderful recording. And did you do that on your awesome setup with the Tascam?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you have a Tascam like mixer into a reel to reel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Which
sick.
it's wild. It's really a cool thing. Like, you can actually mix to tape.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was so exciting. I didn't know what to record when I was over at your place.
Yeah.
And we were like trying to like lay something down. I was like, oh my God, we can mix onto the tape?
Nah, they
You
come
know.
to correct shit. I gotta make the best shit with this.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
just it. And you're like, when I first got it, I'm ashamed to admit I've had that thing for like 3 years now, maybe even 4. And all I've done is have a 5-song EP on it.
Yeah.
But there's like, at first I didn't want to do anything on it, because you didn't want to, like, you got that one
You
roll
don't
of
wanna
tape
waste
and you're
it.
like,
Yeah,
it's
you
got to
don't
be
wanna
good enough
waste
to
it.
get on there.
yeah.
So nothing gets on there. And eventually I says, this roll of tape's not going to do anything else. Like, I might as well record something on it.
You always get more tape.
Get more tape, and it's not that, it's like a roll's like $100, which sounds like a lot, but you get a lot out of a roll.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I think maybe like 45 minutes out of one of those things.
Boom, you good.
They
Fucking
call
make-
them pancakes.
Uh,
So, but I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, no, it's
Get some
really fun.
pancakes,
I
baby.
love. Bob and I were talking earlier, and I've always loved like recording on tape. When I was in high school, like the coolest Christmas present I ever got was a 4-track cassette Tascam recorder.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. I was probably like 16, and my parents had they knew I was getting into music, and I had never really thought about recording. I was just more into learning, and I would have never even thought to buy it. But somehow my parents were like, I bet he'll like this. And
Yeah.
it was like the coolest, like most intuitive gift ever, because they're not even like really musical. Like, my mom plays the organ, but they're not like musos, So I don't know where they thought of this recorder, but it was like I got it and I was hooked. And so ever since I've had a couple different cassette machines, and I did get into the computer too, because you can do a lot on the computer you can't do on a tape machine. Yeah.
And you're not, there's like the concept of burning tape, it's like you can't hack it.
Exactly.
With a, somebody was talking about like the difference between digital and analog. And they were saying that like in digital recording, you're kind of creating a performance, whereas in analog, you're performing for, like, you have it all practiced up, you have it ready.
before the recording.
Because you're burning tape. And so like in digital, you're kind of like, it's like, yeah, we'll do it and we'll correct it in post. We'll fix.
Nah, fuck that, man. Get it right the first time.
Well,
that's what you have to do on tape. Yeah.
And when people talk about analog being better, like it's not just like the saturation or the warmth of the tape and stuff. It's the way that you have to prepare before. They talk about like before the fader, like the amount of work you have to do before it gets to the microphone. Not just talking about like the outboard gear before it gets to the tapes and stuff.
The actual,
but you got to do some work. You got to woodshed these songs.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when people talk about like the difference between analog and digital, a lot of times what they're talking about is the homework that people are doing before they even show up to get to the studio.
That's a really important thing, and actually, to be honest with you, I hadn't really even thought about that aspect as much, but that really is, one of the most important things about that is you do have to have your part down. And I think there is something to like a part that you can tell is recorded like front to back versus like I did an EP on computer like 7 or 8 years ago, and I don't know how many times I would like slice and dice these little parts because I really didn't have the song down all the way. It was like, I thought I had the song down, so you start playing and you're like screwing it up like within like 20 seconds, and by the time you're done, you've like sliced and diced so much, and
you got like 4 8-bar loops.
Yeah, unless you're like a wizard at it, like this guy with doing that. Like I try to edit that, and it doesn't sound natural, But I've seen Tim and Hannah make me sound pretty good, like on harmonica parts on songs where I really didn't have it down.
Well, you've been kind of our harmonica guy, like in our little home studio machinery.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, it's fun being like the harmonica guy,
Well, you've been stamped all over so many of our projects. Over the last like 2 years, you've been on what feels like 8 different projects.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love being like the harmonica's like the quirky kind of like you're not like the lead guitar. He's just like there's a harmonica guy. It's like he's gonna do a little part, and it's like I don't know. I like it. It's just
but it stands out so much.
Yeah, But it's like it feels like the song's never like hinging on the harmonica solo, but it like needs just that vibe. So it's like if you don't totally like nail it, it's okay. But it's like, it just kind of needs that, like, you need to blow in and out on a little bit and maybe bend it or something. But, it's, I like it's kind of like a little bit of a lower pressure instrument, I feel like, And plus, people don't know, like, if a harmonica part's as good as they do, like, a guitar part, I think, because not as many people play. So, like,
actually, not wrong.
You do something that sounds like, you do some notes really fast, and it to most people are gonna go, that sounds pretty cool, and they don't know it's like pretty simple to do, So it's kind of got some cool like low pressure sort of aspects of it.
So you mentioned on the album I put out the song "Fried People," right? For the live performance of that, I was singing through a harmonica mic into an amp, and Pete and I were switching off between I would sing into this super distorted microphone to just sound discordant.
Get that crunch.
Get that crunch, and it doesn't even sound like a human voice. It's just like this kind of like vibe. It's
turns the vocal
animal,
into a solo, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Did that trucker on the CB.
Yeah, the trucker on the CB. That was the inspiration.
Yeah.
And then after I'm done singing, Pete would come up with the harmonica and blow into it. And it was like such an interplay.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Having to share the mic creates that really cool, like, I think it's cooler than if we each had our own mic, it'd be like, there's, but having them together like that, it's like people can really see like, this is the vocal part, this is the heart part, and so it's like, just the visuals alone, you can see, this is what I'm going to follow now.
And sometimes you got to duck down real quick to get
the
other guy. So we got to communicate with our eyes a lot to get like the back and forth, like it's like now, and then like it's like oh, we got to take another one. You'll see
you do like the little look that does kind of universal motion for like do another one.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's fun, and that's like the explosive, like catch on fire spontaneity of like live music that like sometimes you can capture it live, but it's very hard to like get that same energy back. So
Which is kind of like you're saying with analog recording too. It's like it's a one shot, and you're gonna get what you get. You know, there's gonna be some spontaneous imperfections, and it's.
But I like that because then you really can. If you go back and listen to the record, and if you made that record, you can be like, okay, I know exactly what I ate that day, and who was in that room.
Yeah,
exactly.
All this and that. You don't have the ability to like, okay, that wasn't edited over this amount of time.
Yeah.
That was just that one take.
Yeah.
You know the energy in the room that time.
Yeah, there's a loaded gun pointed at your face. Like that's the feeling. It's just like, do not fuck this up right now.
Yeah.
And there's that kind of like butterflies in you. It's just like he's got it. Like pass it on. You know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool energy.
Yeah. No, I've always been a fan, and that was the thing about. I played in jazz bands in high school. And the adjudicators that would judge your high school jazz band, this is the dorkiest sentence I've ever said, but they always knew when it was a pre-written, like premeditated solo. They always knew. They were just like, and they would write in their notes and they would mark you down. It's just like that trumpet player is playing something that was written down. He wrote it down, or he like figured it out, and he played that solo the same way every time. But like when Louis Armstrong is truly improvising, and his pants are on fire and he doesn't know what the next 4 bars are going to be, but he has some idea. You hear the triumph of when he fucking nails it. Right. You know, like it's so good. And he does he trills it. You know, it's huge, you know. But there's this energy that can't be replicated when, like, digitally, it's just like, oh, well, you know, this one's a little bit flat. Let's, melodyne that up a little bit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
just like, where you're just like, it's like, it's like the 4K's a little harsh,
a little
right
cut there.
here.
Just a little cut there.
Let's just, like
clean that up a little bit. Can you put a little more compression?
Yeah, it's like
Exactly.
feels a little bit compressed there. Could I listen to it in the car real quick? It's such a thing where we're almost given too much to
Too
play
much
with.
time, and also too much time to overthink shit.
Too much playback.
For sure.
Where it
Yeah.
was like I think Neil Young was talking about it, where it's just like you need to get it right on the tape because the tape is degrading. It's like you can't come back to it like for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, and like it's like there's a certain thing that happens when you like walk away from the tape. It's like dying on you. Like you need to hit while the iron's hot.
Yeah, because it's a physical thing that
It's a physical thing?
Does,
Yeah.
it does degrade. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think about that every time I look at mine sitting there. That's been the same tape in there for like 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, that pancake's rotten.
I used to have like a blanket over it, but I used it like a month ago, and I just have been too lazy to put the blanket back.
Yeah,
over
you got
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, we had some cold weeks.
Yeah, this blanket's for me. But no, speaking of that, so or can we expect anything upcoming within the next year or so, or like, are you working on anything that?
I hope so. I've talked with Tim about this before. Like, I love writing and performing, and I like recording too. But there's something about recording where it's like, I'm such a bad procrastinator about like sitting down and recording.
Recording's the funnest part.
It is fun, but I don't know. I guess I've been playing like 1 or 2 shows a month, and I feel like all my free time I've been more like practicing, like getting the songs right, And so if I didn't, and I love to play shows, but if I didn't play a show for like a couple months, I'd probably sit down and like finally record something, because I've probably got like 30 songs I'd really like to record that I just haven't had the time to do.
Sounds like we got 5 EPs.
Sure.
5
Well,
EPs, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we sat down and we just knocked out a recording in, I don't know, what was it, 3 hours or so?
That was lickety split. Yeah.
Yeah, lickety
See, if you got
split,
30
yeah.
like that, bro, you good
Well,
to go.
yeah.
See,
exactly.
a guy
What
like
you bullshit
Tim,
for?
this guy knows how to get stuff done, like with recording. And like
Yeah.
I, for some reason, I'll start the thing, and I think that's the two sides of the coin of like home recording. Like when it's at home, you can work on it whenever you want, but it also means you can never work on it. Whereas like if I'm going to Tim's house, or like even when we came here,
You're setting time aside. Yeah.
it's like, okay, Saturday on whatever, you're going to be here at like 11, and it's like, we're just going to sit down and record it. And there's no like avoiding getting it done. And then when it's at home, I'm like, I can always work on it, but I might never work on it.
But let me cook this. Let me cook this food real quick.
yeah, I got to
let me.
I got to vacuum, I got to go
Yeah,
take
there's-
the laundry or something. It's like all these mundane things you don't even
take
want
the
to
dog
do.
out real quick.
The procrastination aspect of it. So that song we recorded ended up on the St. Valentine's
Yeah.
Massacre EP from Washington's.
Which you can find online right here.
Yeah, exactly. Right here in his hand.
Bing.
Yeah. I will edit that in.
Okay, nice.
But I've gotten a lot of good feedback about your song. Like,
Thank you.
It's its own thing. It's its own vibe. You have this kind of crooner aspect of it. I think it's just because you have a naturally low voice.
It might be, yeah.
Where sometimes when like Hannah's very sensitive to like sound, you know, she's got misophonia. I don't know if I should even mention that here, but she's sensitive to sounds, and she was like, Pete's such a cool guy. I don't think he has the ability to speak quietly because of how resonant his voice is.
I talk kind of loud. Yeah.
Well, but I think it's just like the nature of how your chest is set up or something.
It might be.
But you got that low thing where like you have like a Bing Crosby sort of like low timbre to your voice.
Yeah, it might be. I like Bing Crosby.
Yeah, no, but it reads as very old timey, like when you sing it to him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So finish that sentence. Is Hannah going to say I talk too loud? Because I've heard people. I've been in conversations with people before, like and sometimes, like Sarah, my longtime partner. She'll get home from work and she's a therapist, so she like talks to people all day, or she listens to people all day.
Yeah.
So sometimes she would get home across the table from me and we'd start talking, and she'd be just like, "Can you just keep it down?" Like talking about my voice.
Yeah, but
I'm like, she's like, "Can you just down a little bit?"
I'll say this, that my trombone teacher, when she was teaching me how to play trombone, she said that a man with a resonant voice cannot speak quietly, because his voice is so resonant that it fills the space.
Carries, baby.
And she was talking about like playing a trombone at low volume. It's because it's the trombone. You know, it's resonant, it's big. It's like you can't ask a tuba to play quietly because it's a tuba.
It's that volume.
So I'm saying you are a human tuba.
Damn.
like there's no amount of like
it's hard.
Yeah, unless you actually like whisper all the time. Like I think naturally you have a voice that carries. But what I'm saying is like don't shy away from that vibe. It's definitely
just
like,
let it roll.
It's something that
Be
makes
you.
your music what it is.
You're already doing that, but like still be you though.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of funny because I've been around like, you know, somewhere and you hear somebody talking really loud and it's like obscenely loud, and I'm like, I wonder if that's what I sound like when I'm like ordering like, you know, at the
Let me get
ordering,
3
yeah. I need the half pound of turkey, you know. I'm like, can everybody in the store hear me right now?
But
He said big bags.
Bill Burr has this bit that I love where he's just like, it's like when your buddy's telling you a story, the boring parts he says real loud. It's like, yeah, me and my buddies went to the bar, and then this girl came in, and you like it's like that quiet part that pulls you in. It's just like, and then she came in, you know, like it's really, it's like, oh, the good parts of the story
Lock in, baby. Lock in.
it's just like you lean in a little bit, whereas a bad story is told loud the whole way through.
Yeah. The contrast is important, I think.
Yeah.
Presentation is key.
Absolutely.
Just like in music, right? Like it's good to have the quiet part and the loud part. And
Yeah.
like they set each other off. If it was all loud, like then the loudness would lose its like power, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Release and build attention. Yeah.
Exactly.
But also, speaking of which, I've never seen you play, so I know you got some upcoming shows, right?
Yeah. I got a show March 4th at Admiralty Lounge.
Okay.
And then March 8th, I'm doing a... so March 4th is with Willie Rivas. Really cool honky-tonk guy.
I love Willie.
I will see you there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should, man. And then March 8th, I'll be playing at the Storytellers... what's it called? That Stone and Matney dude?
He just does... I think it's called
I think it's called Storytellers with Matney Cook, Stone Jones, and Ted O'Connell. That's in Mount Vernon at Cat's Coffee House at it's early. I think it's at 4 o'clock. 4 to 6.
And there's going to be some swear words.
There's going to be some profanities. So.
Some blue content. In there. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Pete.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Could we get a song out of you real quick?
I'd love
So
to.
what can we expect coming out, you know? Want to support, but yeah, let me get a little taste.
You bet.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to set up the microphones real quick, and then, you know, we'll have at her.
All right.
We'll be right back after these messages. You know that one record you're trying to find on vinyl from your favorite artist.
You just can't find it. Have you ever checked out Black Noise? It's in the heart. It is the heart of Bellingham's music scene. Founded by the one and only Nico Sanchez. They've got all sorts of indie gems handpicked by Nico himself. Jazz, punk, you name it. Swing by for some good vibes and, whatever album you're trying to find. 1312 Bay Street, Deppin. Binary Recording Studio is a versatile space designed to cater to all music genres. And when I say all, I mean all. If you're into jazz, rock, hip-hop, or anything in between, Binary is equipped to bring your music to life. With the expert engineering and the best setup, my boy Bob, he can capture the essence of whatever you are wanting to create and bring it, just to reality. From there, book your session today, unleash your creativity at Binary Recording Studio. But for real, my boy Bob, he will not disappoint.
And welcome back.
Outside in the winter with the snow all around, you can walk a long time without hearing a sound, and you can't tell where the sidewalk ends and the avenue begins. But it's good being home in the winter time again. Last night out on the Hannigan, my truck flew off the road. I was southbound on the S-curve, spun out into the snow, and by the time I made it halfway back home, my face was nearly froze. But it's good being home in the winter time again. I had my Christmas down in LA, so I guess I can't complain. But I miss those long dark nights in the early morning rain. And if I ever miss a palm tree, I can see one on my phone. Well, it's good being home in the winter time again. Yeah, 'cause outside in the winter when the trees land on the road, yeah, the smoke flies out the chimneys and the swimming lakes are froze. Must be December in the Northwest. Kick your shoes off, come inside. But it's good being home in the winter time again. Thanks, fellas.
Did you write that about going out in the ditch?
Yeah. So I did go out in the ditch a couple weeks ago, but this was a prior ditch experience on Hannigan Road, just not too far from here, like 7 or 8 years ago.
So your truck goes out into the ditch now
on a somewhat occasional basis, and it gives me some good song material. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that out of a blue collar guy writing songs. That's so cool. That's a slice of life stuff.
It's a slice of life for sure. And if you've never been spinning on the ice at like 30 miles an hour, you're missing out. And it feels like you're going 70 miles an hour when you
heart's thumping, everything's going.
Yeah, it's quite an experience.
Well, that was fucking phenomenal. I guess we have one last question for you.
Sure.
Give the people one piece of advice about anything, everything, whatever. What's one piece of advice you want to leave them with?
Ooh, let's see. Moderation is the key. I think that's kind of a lame piece of advice, but
it's not. Time and place for me, moderation is key.
Moderation is key in all things, and I've overdone quite a few things in my life, and I've learned that moderation is where it's at, including moderation, as they say.
Yeah. Moderate your moderation.
Exactly.
I like it.
Not a very original thought, but I found it to be important.
Well, sometimes those cliches are cliche for a reason.
The
cliche should be going the hardest.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. They do a lot of legwork. Those cliche.
They do. Yeah, they're like you said, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here, Pete.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Little last minute getting you wrangled for this thing, but you really stepped up.
You know me, I'm always good to roll.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, my name is CHRVNS.
I'm Tim Mechling.
I'm Pete Ruble.
And this is Shut Up and Listen. Y'all stay warm, stay hydrated, stay moisturized, stay lovely out there, stay beautiful. We'll see you next week. Thanks again for tuning in to Shut Up and Listen. For more captivating content, including videos, articles, and everything music related, visit our website at shutupbeham.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts and join the conversation by following us at Shut Up and Listen Beham on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Shut Up and Listen is proudly produced by Rocket Soul and Binary Recording Studio. Stay tuned for more fantastic episodes.